Okay, start again.
On the evening of the 14th day of the month, while camped at Gilgal, on the plains of Jericho, the Israelites celebrated the Passover. The day after the Passover, that very day, they ate some of the produce of the land. Unleavened bread and roasted grain. The manna stopped the day after they ate this food from the land. There was no longer any manna for the Israelites, but that year they ate the produce of Canaan.
Thanks very much, Caleb. Brilliant. Okay, so Andy is going to talk to us a little bit about this passage. And if it helps you to think and do, on the tables there's an A to Z of different foods, and there's some harvest foods to colour in.
Okay, so while you're colouring in, let's think again about this little story that we've just read. Thank you, Caleb, for reading that. So Esther's just gone through the story so far. So the Israelite people have crossed over the Jordan, and they're now in what we called the Promised Land. And then this little story, there's a couple of sort of strange words as part of this story, and I just wanted to kind of unpack them so we kind of understand what it means. And the first is this word Passover. Now, who can tell me what that picture is that you can see on the screen behind me? Who can tell me what the picture is of? Yes. The pyramids from Egypt, that's right. And this reminds us that the Israelites were living in Egypt. And if we know about ancient Egypt, it was a very great country with pyramids, lots and lots of wealth, lots of prosperity. But the Israelite people, God's people, were not living in freedom. They were living as slaves. And they were being treated really badly by the Pharaoh of Egypt, by the king of Egypt. And so God was not happy about this. And he found this one man called Moses, you might have heard of, and he said to Moses, right, I've seen all the suffering of your people, of my people, and I want to rescue you. I want to take you out of this land of Egypt into another land that we call the Promised Land, the land that had been promised to his people. And God described it as a land flowing with milk and honey. It was a land with lots of lovely food that could be produced, a really fertile land with great harvests. That was what they were looking forward to. And so, one night, many, many years ago, God enabled the people of Israel all to leave. The Egyptians allowed them to leave, and they escaped from captivity. They escaped from being slaves in Egypt and started their journey to the Promised Land. And even today, Jewish people celebrate that day by the celebration of the Passover. It was the day that God saved his people, rescued them, and gave them their freedom. But their adventure wasn't finished yet. In fact, it had only just started. So they didn't go straight from Egypt to this new land, but they ended up having a journey of 40 years before they got there. Now, 40 years is a long time. For many of you here, this would have been before you were born, not me, but for many of you, 40 years ago was before you were even born. So they spent this time wandering in the desert. And this takes us to our next word. If you could change the slide, please. And this word is manna. So it's another slightly strange word, isn't it? So if you think about the desert, the wilderness, of course it is a place. There's a reason why nobody lives in the desert. It's because you can't grow food there. There's no rain, there's no water, there's no soil that you can plant things. So basically, it's almost impossible to survive when living in the desert. And yet, these people, called the Israelites that we'll be looking at, spent 40 years in these kind of conditions, camped out in the desert. So how did they survive? Well, this is where manna came in. So very soon, their provisions that they'd taken with them had all run out, and they said to Moses, and Moses said to God, look, we don't have any food. How are we going to survive in the desert? In fact, maybe we should just go back to Egypt. But God said, no, if you go to bed tonight, the next morning when you get up, I will provide manna. So when you read the word manna, you might think, okay, well, what does that mean? And in fact, you'd be absolutely correct, because the word manna basically just means, what is it? Or we could call it like thingamajig today, or what's his name today. It's just something very mysterious. But God provided this food every day. They got up in the morning, they went to collect this food, and they brought it back to their tents 6 days a week. And then on a Friday, they would collect enough for 2 days so that the Saturday, the Sabbath day, they didn't have to do any collecting of food. So this was their survival mode. This was how God provided for them these 40 years in the desert. But can you imagine eating exactly the same food every day for 40 years? No, it must be absolutely terrible. So it was enough to keep them alive, but this wasn't the life. This wasn't the life that God had for them. So this day that we're celebrating today, when they finally crossed into this new land and the manna stopped, that was the last time they received this special food from heaven, because they were now in a land where it was fertile, they could produce fruit and vegetables and lots of nice food. And I actually wonder what the first foods they had. Were they figs or pomegranates or olives or something? These first foods that they had. We can always kind of imagine. Do you have any ideas? It could well have been wheat, yeah, because they would then have used that wheat to make bread. So yes, they probably had bread. Roasted grain and flatbreads. Yeah, I think so. Yes, Alan. Thank you, Alan. But possibly, they may have had fish. I don't think they had any potatoes. But there we go. We can always imagine. And this leads us then into our next activity. Esther, over to you. We're going to be thinking more about food, aren't we? Yeah, great.
Okay, so here you go.
Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there were no longer any sea. I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride, beautifully dressed from her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, "Look, God's dwelling place is now among the people, and he will dwell with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain. For the old order of things has passed away, Eden restored." Then the angel showed me the river of the water of life, as clear as crystal, following from the throne of God and of the Lamb down the middle of the great street of the city. On each side of the river stood the tree of life, bearing 12 crops of fruit, yielding its fruit every month, and the leaves of the trees are for healing of the nations.
Brilliant. Thanks, Faith. Okay, we're going to have a second little talk, but I am going to need some helpers during this talk. And again, if you're the kind of person that likes doing and listening, maybe Andy can give out to each table. There's a plate. You can draw, or if you really are a wordy person, write your favourite food. Okay, so get ready because I am going to need some helpers soon. You might Erin, go quick. You want to be a helper? I thought you would. Okay. You might wonder why we're looking at Revelation in a harvest service. When we chose these verses in Joshua, we realised that they are exciting and they show God's people making a dramatic change from wandering to settling, from journeying to dwelling. We have to remember our ultimate destination and the journey we are on. It made me think of the incompleteness and imperfectness of where we are, a bit like the Israelites on the banks of the river, but not in the promised land. I felt it'd be dishonest to do anything else than think about that a bit. It is amazing knowing God, knowing God's love for me, knowing God's presence with us, and our sins are forgiven and that we're loved and cared for. But the journey of life at times feels incredibly hard. Things can go wrong that we can't explain. Sometimes many things at once. Things are difficult. Even when we pray that they weren't, world leaders make awful decisions. People suffer close to us that we know and further away that we don't know. We're going to be thinking about heaven this morning. We can see heaven as the ultimate destination of our journey. And this part of the Bible would make us think about that. But also, we are already living in God's kingdom. As I talk this morning, we're going to be thinking about a journey. Okay, so I'm going to stop there and we're going to do an activity and then we're going to come back to the talk. Okay, now, have we got the 2-minute timer, Davo? So remember, we were thinking about a journey. You can visualize the people of Israel's journey in the desert, like Andy talked to us about. You can think about difficult journeys you've made. But also, when I'm using the word journey, I'm talking about our journey through life. Okay, who's ever gone for a hike? Okay, yeah, quite a few. Who's ever gone camping and actually carried all their equipment? So their tent, their maybe for the scouts or guides. Sarah, where did you go? You went the wrong way. Oh dear. Sarah went the wrong way on her Duke of Edinburgh, carrying all her stuff. Okay, thank you, Sarah. I would like a volunteer, please. Isaac, come here. Okay, can you put this on for me? Okay. Can you take a little walk around, please? You two, stop. Okay, have a look at Isaac. I'm going to need some more helpers in a minute. Sometimes your bag, stop there, Isaac, freeze, is really full. So when I came, I had all these ration packs in the bag, and it was really full. But you know in it, you've just about got everything you need. Come a bit closer, Isaac. Sometimes, I need, Simeon, can you put this in Isaac's bag for me? Just the red ones to start with. Just the red ones. So, Isaac, bend down. And the next one. Okay, thanks, Isaac. Okay, so have another walk around. How's he doing? So it's just another 2.5 kilos. Are you doing all right? Okay, come back a bit closer. Okay. Okay, turn round. Bend down. Okay, have another walk around. So sometimes, sit down now, Simbo, thank you. It feels like more weight has been added. Your burden has got bigger. It can feel, now Isaac's doing okay. I didn't want to bring all the weights and really strain him or any of you. But it can at times feel really hard to carry. You've got more things to deal with. Okay? So Isaac's, can I have a couple of people to come up? Maybe a bit short. Thanks, Finley and Maisie. Come here. Come here, Isaac. Turn around. Look at them. Hold my notes for me. Okay, so Finley, can you just put your hand here? And Maisie, can you come around the other side and help your brother? And put your hand there. So Finley on one side, Maisie on the other. Okay, now push it up so you're taking the weight off of Isaac. Now that's not going to work. Isaac! No! Okay. So just put your hand there for me, just as a visual, just as a guide. You're not actually going to take the weight. Okay. So you might need some helpers. Sometimes when you've got a really heavy pack, you might need some helpers. They might help you carry it, okay, like Maisie's demonstrating. They might, like Finley's done, take some of the weight out. So they might take off some of the things you're carrying, some of the things that are making your journey hard. They might, can you get Isaac to sit down for me, Maisie? Tell him to sit down. Okay, can someone find a biscuit for Isaac? Can someone find a biscuit for Isaac? So they might make you rest and eat on your journey. Thank you, Maisie and Finley. Are you all right to stay there and eat your biscuit? Excellent. They might remind you where you're going and why you're going there, refreshing your vision. They remind you where you're going and why you're going. And that's what we're hoping to do with this Revelation passage, by thinking about this well-known bit in Revelation. And as I wonder if that's why John's vision finishes with this. He was in prison, the church was being persecuted. Maybe he massively needed a reminder of where he was going and why he was going, and a vision refresh. This bit of Revelation that Faith read to us tells us that one day there'll be no more death, sorrow, crying, or pain. It tells us that God dwells with his people, not leading them around in circles, like Andy said, in the desert, but dwelling with them. It tells us that God wipes away every tear from their eyes. He's close and involved. Our sadness and struggles matter to God. There'll be fruit each month. The cycle of a long, uncertain waiting is finished. So it's even better than being in the promised land where you're harvesting and you're growing. There's going to be fruit each month. And healing for the nations. The former things have gone. Everything will be made new. There is change. And there were just, like Andy had a couple of words, there were 3 words that stood out to me. Dwell. This made me think of a dwelling place, a home. God is at home with us. We are at home with God. It's about resting and being. The word with or among. Our God is close, not far away. New. Change happens. Old things will be gone and new will come. Sometimes with the really littlest ones downstairs, we think about our senses. Maybe you'd like to join in with me and have a go now. So you could close your eyes if you want. Can you see and smell the fruit trees with the different fruits constantly growing and needing to be harvested? Can you smell walking into your home, your dwelling, through an open door and delicious food has been cooked? Can you hear the fresh river flowing through the city? Can you hear the sound of laughter and chatting in your home, your dwelling, as people enjoy eating together? Can you taste this delicious food and the fruit from the trees by the river of life? Can you feel tears on your cheeks? Can you feel a hand wiping them away? Here's the exciting part, and yes, it is confusing. We're not waiting for this to start. This has already begun. God's kingdom is already here, and it started with Jesus. Our job is to help it happen more. It's hard to wrap our brains around. It's the delicious taste of cookie dough while they're baking in the oven. It's now and also later. This is how things will be in God's kingdom, but it's already begun. So it seems to me there's two answers to the so what question. When we read any bit in the Bible, the so what. We might be caught up with this idea of the people of Israel on the cusp of something new, with a new location and a new diet. They've gone from the daily plod and slog in the deserts of every day being the same to the ups and downs of established, settled life. They're not on the manna and the ration packs. They're over here with the delicious food. Maybe some of us are excited by this idea of new and want to focus on what new understanding or renewed vision or new action that God wants to talk to us about. Do we need to spend a bit of time, either now or at home, asking God for a reminder of where we're going and what his kingdom is like and how we can join him in making it happen now on earth? Some of us, can I have somebody to stand up with this again? Seb, come on, you asked to do this. Some of us might feel far from that. We might find all this talk of God's kingdom that has begun hard to hear. We might think, well, it's not begun on my street and not in my house. We might feel we're definitely, give me a walk around in a circle around the room. We might feel we're definitely still stuck in the desert, going around in circles, and the journey is very hard. Do we need to ask for help on the journey like Isaac got help? Someone to help us carry our heavy load? Do we need to ask other people? Do we need to ask God for help on the journey? Do we need to look out for someone, maybe at school, on our table, maybe in our small group, maybe our team at work, maybe our street, our toddler group, who needs our help but doesn't know how to ask? There's lots of people in town today running the 10K and the half marathon, and Rachel and I did one together, and Vicky's done lots, and someone handing you a sweet when you're absolutely out of energy is amazing. You don't ask for it, they're just handing it. They're looking for the person that's absolutely dying on their feet, and they're giving you a burst of energy. When I did one race, and I needed someone not just to do that, but they ran with me. It's someone I never met before. On the side, they were a spectator. They ran with me for half a kilometre just to keep me going. It was amazing. So they spotted that I was struggling. So sometimes we're asking God for help or each other. Sometimes we're looking for someone struggling. Okay, so that's the end of me talking.